it's interesting. You were talking about two guys running out of fuel in back-to-back races. How about Toyota engine blowups in back-to-back races? Last week it was Christopher Bell, which ended up being, a broken exhaust. And they said that's so rare and likely to never happen again. Denny Hamlin said on Fox he wasn't really sure. I think a lot of people wanted to point to the easy, you missed a shift, and he's like, to my knowledge, I don't think that I did. And I'm sure it's something TRD is going to dive into, but highly unusual. And I do wonder, Lee, if they are two completely different reasons. On the surface, I would think they are, but you don't see things like this coming out of the Gibbs and the Toyota camp.
You most certainly don't. The only thing you can wonder, are they kind of pushing things? Because isn't this the time of year where people really try and test things out? Not that we're going to be at, Watkins Glen is in the playoffs this year, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
and the Roval.
And the Roval. So, maybe they're trying different things, because you always used to talk, Jimmy Johnson's in a slump. They were just testing things, people. I mean, we all know that now. We didn't know that at the time, but they were. And it just seems unusual. And, I'll trust Doug and Doug's opinion, because he's generally right. It's just so unusual to see that, Bell was the only one to finish. And after the week he had before, it was probably a good thing that he did. But, certainly you hate to see engine woes. You hate to see guys running out of gas, but it certainly makes the complexity of the race interesting.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Lee, when you say it's them probably trying some things. I mean, both Bell and Hamlin are comfortably going to be in the playoffs, and so they have a little bit of wiggle room. Hamlin said on our air as well, we have no idea what happened. We also asked him about maybe potentially missing a shift, and he said it was 2 laps. No, I don't think I missed a shift or did anything from the driver's standpoint to make this happen. They'll go back and dissect it, and I'm sure they'll be better for it, whatever they learn on the back end. But certainly something that we're not used to seeing. But I don't think it's going to be a trend that continues.
The other thing too, ladies, and we talked to Doug about this, but I'd love to get your take, is just the repave itself and the job that the SMI folks are doing. We just went through this at North Wilkesboro. I think, the different tiring strategy for the All-Star race didn't really play out the way we had hoped, but the repave itself, I thought, put on a good show. I thought Sonoma was fascinating. I have never been more excited to watch practice, because I couldn't wait to see these guys for just 50 minutes, acclimate to it. The track was running 3 to 4 seconds faster a lap. I mean, Sonoma, in my opinion, Sunday delivered.
Absolutely.
It bordered on a little bit chaotic there for the first 2 stages. It was like yellow, restart, yellow, restart. You're like, okay, Harvick said on the broadcast, are we going to have enough cars to finish? I mean, I think we teetered on this point of no return, but ultimately it put on a fascinating show. You both have been around long enough to know. We used to repave a track. You had to wait 8 to 10 years for the racing to get good. I think the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro and Sonoma are 2 very recent examples of great racing off a repave immediately.
I think technology is improving. I think that companies like Speedway Motorsports and NASCAR are staying on the forefront of what technology can do for a repave initially, first race out of the gate. Because you're right, when we went to North Wilkesboro, we all saw, what was a great reaction to the new pavement. Same at Sonoma. And I remember when it was like, it was almost a death sentence for 4 or 5 years after a racetrack was repaved before you could even expect to have somewhat good competition. And clearly, from what Speedway Motorsports has done in the past month, the racing that we've seen at Speedway Motorsports facilities in the last month with new pavement, we can kind of throw that notion out the window.
You're absolutely right. The state of the art, what are they, like polymers or whatever that Steve Swift and his gang uses for these racetracks, you get up to speed real quickly. Now, to kind of look ahead a little bit, asking the drivers back at Gateway and even before that, what are your expectations for Iowa? And Christopher Bell, he's like, oh man, it was my favorite track. And then they repaved it. So I'm curious, especially after talking about Sonoma, after talking about North Wilkesboro, are we going to get that same kind of show once we get to Newton, Iowa?
I think it's so funny because I think, old tricks die hard, right? Like we think, as we just talked about how in the past usually when a track is repaved, you think, oh no, we're not going to have great racing there. I think the drivers think that too. No matter how many times we give them examples of that not happening, North Wilkesboro, Sonoma.
It's not their
Iowa,
favorite thing.
It's not their favorite thing. I think what it is change. Nobody likes change.
Yeah.
The repaves of these facilities affect the drivers and the teams more than anybody else. And it's the unknown. So they don't know what they're going to get. I mean, you said it was the first time you got excited to watch practice because even you didn't know we don't know what was going to happen. And so I think it's change. It's the unknown that makes these drivers just a little uneasy. You know, you get a racetrack figured out as a driver and you're like, this is my place. I love that place. And then somebody changes one little thing and it could completely throw, you know, your whole notebook, so to speak, out the window, and you've got to start over again. And I think that's why we get these drivers being a little bit more vocal about, oh no, I hate that they've repaved this or they've repaved that.
Well, I think the most vocal entering the weekend was Martin Truex Jr. because he was king of wine country with 4 career wins there. He could have tied Jeff Gordon with 5 had he been able to win the race on Sunday. And he was part of the test at Sonoma, you know, a few weeks ago, and he was highly critical. But why is that? I think you just mentioned it.
Yeah.
You know, it's because you took the advantage away. And so for him to overcome and have to unlearn and then relearn everything and still run second, had fuel not been an issue, I thought the battle between he and Larson was great. But I think he left, you know, just obviously so disappointed. But that was another storyline I was watching. Could he? I think this is his final season. I'm going to go ahead and put it on record. And so I think I was interested to see if he could walk away from his best track with one more win and tie Jeff Gordon. That would have been huge.
I was thinking that it was going to be easy to write the headline if he won. Martin Truex Jr. rides off into the sunset with final Sonoma win.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in your camp. I think that the wheels are already in motion. I think other drivers have already met with certain sponsors and the team, and I think they know what they're, or close to know what they're doing for 2025.